Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Another episode, Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation. I'm Margo Lovett, and back with another powerful woman. You know, WomELLE magazine has come up with this amazing list, 25 powerful women to watch the month of March, which is Women's History Month. But I've been telling everybody, you have to watch these women the rest of your days, because they didn't just start doing the work that they do, and they're not going to stop because March is past. So you want to stay in sync. You want to follow them on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, wherever they are. You want them to be your mentors, your coach. So with that said, today, I want to have a conversation with Kearn Cherry. I've been waiting for this time. I love the way she builds platforms for women so that their voices can be heard. So welcome, Kearn.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me, Margo. I'm really thrilled to be here. So I love your platform. I love the message behind it. So I'm always happy to come here and share.
Thank you. Your platform, though, I was sitting here thinking before we went on, I was thinking you actually help bring out a woman's voice now, but you do that by way of getting anthologies together, which takes the fear factor out of a person actually getting their message out there. It's so much better when you're one of 20 or one of 25. So will you just tell us, how did you get started in that? That's got to be hard work, getting these stories together. How did that all begin?
So I can tell you this, and I say this a lot. And for me, I did an anthology, a couple of them with some other friends, other people. Did Dr. Sherwood and another friend of mine. And that being said, in 2019, when I finished Success, God set me down and he told me there was a few things that I could do. And that he basically was just showing me what I needed to do. And I always tell women, sometimes you got to be a little more selfish about how you approach things. A lot of times we're so busy giving and pouring into other people's ideas that we forget that we're not taking enough time to pour into ours. And maybe it's a collaborative idea, but a lot of times you go in collaborations, other people's ideas take over yours. So he reminded me, I've been doing events now for 20 years. And so it's time to get back to doing my events. And then he gave me the anthology. And I was like, really? The young lady I was talking to, she was like, well, you can do it. You can do it. I'm like, no, I'm not. I write because I have to write, not because it's something that, some people are passionate about writing. They love it. They sit down and it just flows from them. They journal. They do all that great stuff. Yeah, that's not me. that is not me. Yes, I create stages for people. Many people don't know I have my own home care business, even though you see me creating all these events. But I create, in my mind, I'm like, I create stages for people to get on so their voice can be heard, literally vocalize their voice. So anyway, but now she kept at me and I finally said, okay, I'm going to do this as a visionary author. And so when I got in it, I realized he was showing me it wasn't for me it wasn't about me. Mm-hmm. It was about helping other people voice be heard in a different way through a chapter. And a chapter is only a piece of who you are. Mm-hmm. Most people probably have 40 chapters in their life at least, right? And so, and it's often said, your story is not your story. That's because God wants you to be a testimony in the first place. Yes. How's he going to get the glory if you ain't sharing it? That's right? So the books are about people being able to share a piece of their life, whether it's touching somebody that might save their life, or touching somebody, it might help them increase their business, whatever it is. And so Trailblazers Who Lead was my first anthology that I did. There were over 30 of us, led by none other than Gloria Mayfield Banks and also Dr. Cheryl Wood and Teresa Raw Brown. Those women were already trailblazers, already doing something amazing. And so were my authors. They were just doing it out front. And my authors were doing it behind the scene. That being said, oh my goodness, it's like they all woke up. I'm watching them all now. Here we are a year later. They're some of them had their own podcast that was sleeping. When we started doing the interviews, some of them, because I was like, you actually got a podcast? You're not, why aren't you inviting guests on? So hey, let's come on and come on to your podcast. Some of them have started other business. Some of them have increased their business. Several are doing their own anthology. Wow. Many are speaking now and creating their own events. I'm like, so y'all got all this from the anthology? That man, and they're collaborating. Many of them are collaborating together. I'm just watching and thinking, wow, when powerful women wake up and learn to collaborate and learn to put themselves out there so people can see what you're doing, then God can take you to the next level. We have been trained that in order to be considered humble, you got to hide in the darkness. Well, I always say God don't operate in the dark. He operates in the light. Yeah. He's out front. And so if that's the case, why are we hiding? Let's let everybody know what he's doing in your life so somebody else might be able to gain from that as well. You know, so that being said, I truly have enjoyed watching those ladies. And then came Make It Happen.
Talk about that. I really want to ask about that.
Yes.
Yeah. Make it happen.
Make it happen. Margo, I'm telling you now, I can be stubborn sometimes when it comes to, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? So I launched it out there. I was like, oh, let me put this out here. Make It Happen. I've sat on that title for over 15 plus years. And I never saw it as a book project. It's just always something that I like. And so, but I wrote it down when I wrote Trailblazer One Down, because one of the things I did that year after 2019 success is I took time to do something that I don't always do, that I hadn't done in the past enough of, which was sitting down and making a plan for the next upcoming year. And so when I did that, there were a lot of things that came across my mind that probably had been sitting there. I just hadn't used it. And so Make It Happen was sitting there. So I thought, well, maybe this is the next book. So I'm going to go ahead and put it out here. And so this time I came in it from, I'm going to be the project manager. I'm going to be the person leading out. I'll hire the people that I need to bring it to fruition, but I will be the person doing all the things to get it done. And so that being said, I put it out there, and one of my authors came right on board, and I was like, okay, well, that's good. Where's the rest of them? And it just kind of sat there. And I remember texting one of my other friends saying, by the way, how's your book project going along? Oh, it's okay. Not as much as I want, but you know, it's going. I'm like, I can't even say that, right? And so I was sitting down I was working on success anyway. So, you know, I'm always multitasking. So I was like, well, we'll just see. We'll see if this is something God is really calling me to do. So after success rolls by in October, I'm still looking at, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing, Lord? You sure about this? And so I'm sitting up one morning. I tell people all the time, you know, I'm not a morning person, but I was sitting up. And of course, he obviously knew I was going to be on Facebook, right? So I'm sitting on Facebook and here it comes across the screen. And he shall make it happen. Isaiah 60:22. And I was like, yeah, I didn't just see that, did I? So I go to type in the scripture in Google, and there pops up all the flyers and stuff, and he shall make it happen. Isaiah 60:22.
Wow.
And, you know, I get chills when I think about it because, you know, when God is telling you something, he's telling you something, right?
Yes.
So I'm like, okay, Lord, all right, so this is what you do have me doing. And literally after that, the authors started coming in. So I was like, okay, I guess he was telling me it ain't your time, it's my time. This is what I told you to do. So you stay the course. And so I'm like, okay, I guess it wasn't happening as fast as I wanted it to happen. And now we have over 30 authors participating in the project. But that being said, you know, it just shows you, first of all, when you're obedient, don't be stubborn like I am sometimes, but be obedient to what he's called you to do. And know that the purpose is most likely not for you. It is for somebody else. I have heard stories. The young guy, Jonathan Haynes, that's a part of the project, is amazing. He's 25 now, but he joined the project at 24, almost committed suicide 3 times. But yet in COVID, God showed him and gave him 3 successful business, and he's a recording artist. Oh my. He has a purpose in your life. And when you start paying attention, I tell people, you don't know what your purpose is. You don't know what your calling is. Your gift is given from you at birth. There are several inside of you, but you have to sit down and take the time to see what those gifts are. We're the one thing that we got, and I'm not saying COVID has been great for all of us, but you know what? I call it the year of opportunity, the time of opportunity, because we have time that we didn't have before. We're not, as I say, running the street, flying everywhere, doing all this stuff, hanging out at different places. So we got time. So you have time to figure out what those gifts are and create an opportunity for yourself. Don't just pour into somebody else's dream. It is time to figure out what yours are and create your own brand, your own business. You know, and I'm not saying, okay, somebody's like, I need my job. I didn't say quit your job, but I'm saying you need to create that other stream of revenue. You know, the rule of thumb is 7, you know, so that being said, that book, listening to my authors, even last night, I was listening to all the powerful women and the pieces of their stories that they were able to share online. I was thinking to myself, this is why, this is it. This is what I do. This is my calling, helping people get visible, help people share their story, help them give God the glory in what they're doing. Yeah. There's a calling on your life. Don't miss that calling.
Ooh, I got chills just hearing you say this, because the first thing as I hear you speak, all I can think of is these women have an opportunity because you've been obedient. You created the platform. They now have an opportunity to heal, to give God glory, to move to their next, to own their power and own it without apology. And so many of us are not there. So that's what makes this so very fabulous and so exciting. And to have the liberty of the first time authors, that is, oh my goodness, you opened up Pandora's box, I'm so sure. But you know what? I heard you speak of something, and you said the conference. And I just want to make sure that everybody knows about Success Women's Conference. This is something that you created for women to come be inspired, empowered, connected, and recharged, you say, in a digital community. But then you also make a platform, once again, where people can get together for one huge conference. So my question with that is, how is that going? You have a lot of people coming in and going out. And with COVID, instead of one live conference, how are you doing that? How are you working that out?
Oh, we just pivot. Look, by the time I got to success, I had already tested the market 2 or 3 times already. Well, several times, because I had some smaller. You got to remember, I've been doing this almost 20 years. So when you say do an event in Zoom, okay, well, that I can do in my sleep. It's just like doing it on Clubhouse.
Yeah.
I do it, and it's pretty easy. I know how to promote and get all that done. That being said, one of the things that God gave me was Power Up last year. And so, yes, that conference took at least 4 to 5 pivots. And we had planned that initially live in one of my favorite cities that's only an hour from me is New Orleans.
Oh, wow.
And so you can imagine we had to do a lot of pivoting. And so finally, with our great governor of Mississippi, we actually had to go virtual, because even then it was he had reduced our attendance in buildings to 10. So we definitely couldn't do that with our speakers flying in. But even before that conference, he gave me Level Up Summit, which is the first one coming up here this year, is Level Up Virtual Conference, which is the first one that went international. So we have speakers this year. That's the April the 16th through the 18th conference. And it is global. It's an international conference. We have people speaking from Australia, from UK, from the Philippines, and other countries coming on board. Power Up will go even bigger. And then, of course, Success Women's Conference is just amazing. We kicked off this year with a smaller version of Success, where we had on the 1st through the 3rd to help people jumpstart their year right. We did that conference in a month. Wow. We put that together in a month. And I'm telling you, the powerful stories behind that has been amazing. But Success last year, we normally have 1,100 to 1,500 people in person in Biloxi, Mississippi. So, and that is always amazing. You know, being in person, there really isn't nothing like it. When you have people like Lisa Nichols, Robin Roberts, Dr. Yana Van Zandt, all them people coming. But we went virtual, and we had over 17,000, y'all. Okay. So you talking about a pivot? Yeah, that was a pivot that truly worked out in our favor. And we were able to bring on people like Forbes Riley, Les Brown, Sharon Lecter. I mean, we just some amazing speakers. And, you know, I know a lot of amazing speakers. So yeah, I was just blown away. It was 7 days, which is a little harder to do in person. So to do it virtually allows you to just reach so many lives, to touch so many more lives than you ever have touched before, you know, starting early in the morning, going into the night, you know. And I keep telling people, I said, we have to realize here in this country we live in, the USA, you have to realize that the world isn't on your clock, right? True. So you gotta think about, how do I bring the world in and make sure that they can get on as well and enjoy this conference? So you'll see that at the Level Up Summit, and all the other conferences this year will start early, we'll go later. And so we will enjoy different platforms. But yes, we pivot, and we pivot well when it came to success this year.
Well, see, you've been, as you say, you've been doing this a while. God knows that he can trust you to pull this off. You have access to the resources. So in my mind, I'm just thinking you are the as they say, the cat's meow, and you are the go-to person as far as empowering women in person, and now even virtual. do you have plans? I know that you said that you think you're planning out next year already. Do you think the pandemic will have us situated in a position where you'll go back live in 2022, or is that still kind of tentative? Because you already see what can happen virtually. It's like, wow.
Mhm. So just know this virtual will never leave conferences again.
Good.
It's just it's too, you can't reach that number. In person, you normally hear people with big conference. Well, we had 10,000 or so, and that's great, you know, but the real thing is virtually, you just can go global, and that is even better, right? And so, so we look at a hybrid, and I tell people all the time, this is what you're going to see in the conference world. You're going to see either a conference that goes full blown virtual, or you'll see a hybrid where there's a smaller in person, because I don't think people are going to be comfortable next year to just, I don't want to be around 1,000 people all at the same time. I just don't think people will feel that way. So I think there are some changes there that you'll see. Personally, I see for success, and we may go bigger, but I personally think 300, 500 is a good number. And that's still a lot of people. And we would still have to use our larger facility down here in order to say, we're going to make sure that you're safe. We're not going to just take risks in the hand. Do I see it this year? I can tell y'all right now, you will not see a lot of conference this year go in person. It's just too risky. People don't know what the consequences will be from doing a big live in-person event.
Well, that's responsible. See, once again, you're listening, you have your pulse on what's going on. That's why you're able to be in the business. And I call it a business because you know how many people try to put on conferences and they are total flops. They can't get leverage, they can't get the speakers, and then they don't give novices. There are a lot of people who have messages, but they're not professional speakers. And how grand is it that you give the newbies a chance to be heard? You give the newbies a chance to get into print. So you're a double threat. You really, really are. And Kearn Crockett Cherry, I don't know. I just think that you've been on to something that's visionary, and you're staying the path. I see that you are the owner of PRN Home Care. You started that 24 years ago. And I'm thinking that's before we really took a look at the fact that many of us are living longer lives and we want to stay in our homes. We need help. A visionary or someone who's listening to God for 24 years, and you are situated, you are an occupational therapist to be situated like that. And then you have 30 years, 20 years in getting butts in the seats and giving the world these fabulous conferences where people can leave and say, I'm empowered. They can be in a book and say, I'm going to do this, and do it, How many people can say that? Not many. You and I think Dr. Cheryl Wood, you two come to mind. It's hard to beat that number.
Well, Cheryl is walking in her gift. When you finally realize, and if you don't know what it is, please ask God to show you, because when you figure out what that gift is, those gifts are, you just operate at a different level. You hear football players say all the time, I would do this for free the rest of my life if they let me. That's because they have figured out what their gift is. Now, I'm not a football player, but hey, those people love that. They would do it for free if nothing else. They would do that every day, all day long, if their body would let them, right? That being said, you have gifts. That's just one gift that they have. There are other gifts that they're called to do as well. And so that being said, find those gifts but that comes from spending some quiet time and really, and then when you get it, focus on it, hone that gift, you know, and be careful, because I always tell people, you have to realize some people will talk you out of working in your gift, right? So you got to put the right people around you. You got to choose your circle. I was telling somebody last night, sometimes you got to clean out your circle. You got to go actually clean out who's in it so that you are able to focus with the right people that are going to support you and your gifts. So, so when you do that, you'll see that person rise to the next level. As far as conferences, the reason why people don't always do well is because they're not honing in on the right things in the conference. People think if I put a ticket price on it, I'm going to make money. And I always tell people the money is not in the ticket. Trust me. You have to make sure you got people that put butts in the seat. That's number one. Real butts. Those are speakers who are relevant. Sometimes your dream speaker isn't relevant. So make sure they're relevant. The other thing is, don't put a flyer out there and say, oh, they will come. No, that's not true. It takes a little more than that and some strategy. I always tell people, you know, for me, I have brand ambassadors in addition to all the other things that I'm doing behind the scene. And stop having these parties. Know when to cut. You got to have a person around you that says, you know what, this is costing you a lot of money. You know, you need to, are you sure this is the right path? That's the sign to say, you know what, I can't afford this cut. I can't afford that cut. You keep cutting, but you make sure that your event makes sense. And the other thing I would say is a lot of people just do stuff, you know, that I always tell people, with women, we overanalyze. And then sometimes we do stuff that we weren't called to do in the first place, right? Yes. You didn't sit down. You didn't make sure you had a vision and a mission. You didn't even have a strategy on your target or nothing like that. You just said, well, you know, I just think this is a great idea and I'm going to just put it together and let me call my friends and see if they'll get behind me and support me. And yeah, your friends are your friends. They're going to support you. You know, a real good friend, they're going to support you. But unfortunately, they will support you to zero, nothing. Okay? Because they're your friend.
Yeah.
You know, so, but that's why I tell people I coach on different things, because I can look and see what they're doing. And I always say I actually probably better coach people than I do putting all my other stuff together. But that being said, I make sure that when you attend mine, you're going to feel like I got all, and I'm in the business of no more big parties. I don't care who it's for. We're not having parties. We're going to get a profit at the end of the day. Not just, I barely broke even. That's not a profit to me. So for those of y'all are having those, you're doing something wrong. And it's probably because you're not doing certain things. You're not promoting well. You're not bringing on the right keynotes, and you haven't planned a good budget and the right team. So there's just a few things that you really need to look at and break it down.
Wow. That I hope, well, there are a couple of people that I know, quite a few people that need to hear that, because I think that sometimes we take a throw, as Brother Bedford says, you're throwing spaghetti against the wall and hoping that it'll stick. And that is not the way to go about it at all. I want to remind everybody that I'm having a conversation with Kearn Crockett Cherry, who's down there in Biloxi, Mississippi, doing some big things. And she's one of WomELLE's 25 powerful women to follow the month of March and beyond. She is known for putting butts in the seats, giving some fabulous conferences, because they are relevant. You do bring on relevant people. You are very savvy when you put these conferences together. It sounds like you're tightening it up even more now that we have gone digital. Your Success Women's Conference is where women can come, and this is on Facebook, correct?
Oh yeah, well, we actually build it out. So a lot of people don't realize social media does not like you having a big TV show at their expense, because that's what they consider conferences. So we actually build out our broadcast page, and so it streams from its own platform, and then we will stream into the others, but not 100%, because again, like I said, I don't care if it's Facebook, Instagram, whoever. If you run that whole conference through them, they're gonna chop you. Ask me, because they did it last year when I did Level Up. I'd hired a team, they streamed it out. The first day went really good. The second day, not only did they chop the conference, they changed my password in the middle.
Facebook.
So that was brutal. That was brutal. So restarting all that, it's like it's almost, you're just starting over, and it's not really good to do that with a conference. And that was fully live through Facebook. So yeah, it was a journey. Wouldn't do that part again. Yes, there are always going to be technological difficulties. And guess what? When you do a conference in person, yes, you need to be prepared. There will be something that goes wrong. I can honestly tell you, I've been doing this for, it seems like forever, and there's always something. But you know what? When I come into a conference, the day of the conference, the first thing I tell myself, and I told one of the directors this, I said, you have to come in smiling, because you are now the host. And people want somebody who's happy. They don't care what you're going through. So you need to leave all the worry. This is going wrong. If it's happening, you can't fix it. Go ahead and tell your team, hey, do what you can, patch it up, and let's keep going, and make sure that our guests leave as happy as possible. That's right. It. And so I come in with, it's here, we're ready, we've done all the work. Let's make the best of every day that we have.
That's all that you can do. I mean, really and truly, at the end of the day, come prepared. And it sounds like you own everything that's going on anyway. So you come and you are a coach to those who want to learn how to put on conferences. You are offering a way to be heard by way of anthologies for those who want to be authors. And you're giving us all an opportunity to hear from the biggest, baddest, boldest authors, the change makers, influencers, the thought leaders, not the people who are sitting back looking and watching the world go around. They are involved in the world. That's what you do. That's what you bring. And it looks like you have 3 conferences coming up this year. Wow.
Yeah, we already did one. Woman on Fire was an extra one earlier this year. So there's actually 4. And that's not including my clients that will have their own conferences as well. So it is, like I said, I create stages, I create platforms. Books are a platform. Speaking on the stage is a platform. And so for me, I see it as an opportunity for my people to be seen. It's an opportunity for them to connect with the world. Right now, I challenge you to stop swimming in that pond. You know, a lot of people swimming in a pond.
Yeah.
You know what the pond is? That's that backyard. And you know, the people that you know and you see, you go shopping, they may be a part of your local chamber and all that other stuff, and your local women's group and all that. Your clients now are global. You are meant to reach out to the world with your service, with your voice, with your story. It is time to stop looking just where you are. You hear coaches say all the time, I'm just thinking about closing my business because it's just not bringing in enough revenue and da da da. And I'm like, okay, well, I tell you what, let me ask, how much you charging? Okay, also, so are you looking at your backyard? Because your price says you're looking at people that you know and you think this is what they can afford.
Mhm.
And that's not how to be a coach. I want somebody who is an expert to the T and is confident in what they do. You know, when there are certain coaches you talk to, you're like, oh, she is. Look, I haven't coached with her, but based off what I can see in her confidence level, she got to be fabulous. I
Mhm.
love watching Dr. Sonia Stribling. She's somebody who's extremely fabulous
Yes.
when talking. When I talk to Trevor Otts and Shay Brown, they're always, you just can tell that they're on their game, right? I know that Dr. George C. Frazier is the master of networking, connecting.
Yes.
He's the master of that. Les Brown, I mean, shoot, his voice just says, hello, you definitely want to connect to him, right?
Yes.
Look, what you selling? And people like Forrest Riley, I was just telling her the other day, I'm like, who can teach somebody to pitch like you do? You have to know your calling, and you have to know that there is people out there that will pay whatever it takes to get what you have, because it's your intellectual property that they're tapping into, right? And it's your gifting in the delivery of it that allows them to excel, and they need it. So I tell people, don't undercharge yourself. Yeah, I paid for a coach last year. I say two things. Hiring a VA, that was the best thing I ever did. And then number two was hiring a coach.
Yes.
And look, yes, it was a mini car. Notice I didn't say car payment. I said car, right? But that being said, God showed me. He was like, I've been waiting on you. You took too long to get here. Because as soon as I finished with her training, I told my coach, Ty at the time, Ty said, she called me and she said, hey, have you gotten any clients yet? And I was like, why in the world does she know I got clients already? I just finished. Literally, when I finished, two people that I actually knew and called me and booked my services. And I was like, wow, because that was God showing me, yes, that's what I've been waiting on you to do. You could have got here a lot quicker, but since you were taking all day, now you know. Stop, because my husband had finally said, he said, you've interviewed a lot of coaches. I really like the last two that you interviewed. Basically, are you gonna make a decision? Are you? I mean, what are you waiting on?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. I'm like, you do know that, like, this is like a car, right? He's like, you either gonna do it or you're not gonna do it. Which one is it? Which one are you gonna do? You can't sit and keep going and going and going. As I said, as women, we overanalyze. At some point, you just have to do it. And take the leap of faith and just do it. You've already done your homework, right? So loving it. So
I'm looking at the time here, and I love having a conversation with you. The richness, the fullness, the depth of your knowledge. It always has me speechless, and it's hard to make me speechless, but I just could sit and listen to you forever and a day. I do love the fact that you let the world know that you have taken on a coach and a strategist, and look at what's happened. So many of us think we can Google everything. But you know what, Kearn? What I always think is that, how dare you charge someone for anything when you won't invest in yourself? I'm just going to leave it there. And so many people do. But I said, my, look at Kearn Cherry, all that you've done, all that you're doing, all that you've produced, and you bring up the word I didn't say anything to you about it. Your coach, a small car. I did the same thing. Brother Bedford was nothing cheap, but I pay it again.
He is
because this podcast is sustainable, viable. It took on 2 million downloads and streams. So To me, all I wanted was proof of concept, and then the rest is history. We keep on going.
Yeah,
I
Brother
love,
Bedford is a genius. I'm
oh,
gonna tell you that. I've just watched
yeah,
him. He is a genius.
he is no one to sleep on. But
Hmm.
Dr. Stribling, same thing. So,
Hmm.
and Kearn Crockett Cherry. Don't sleep on her if you want to really have successful events. You just can't go into it willy-nilly. It's a science. I
Hmm.
strive to say it's a science. So
Hmm.
I'm really respecting your time. Oh my goodness. I would be remiss if I didn't tell everybody that for the month of March, you are also recognized by Women of Dignity magazine, top 50 powerful women in business. There's that word twice, powerful, powerful. And you really, really are. Kearn Crockett Cherry, thank you for being here with me. Thank you, thank you.
Yes, and they can reach me. Go to kerncherry.com. You can also go to time to level up .com as well. That's my other conference and Power Up Summit .com. And of course, not to say the least, successconference.info. And look, y'all, if you're looking for me, yes, I'm on Clubhouse. I will say that you need to get there too. LinkedIn being one of my second favorite now. It used to be my best, but now it's under Clubhouse, y'all. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna say that. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, I'm there, even Pinterest, Snapchat, TikTok, whatever. Just look me up, contact me, and I'll love to connect.
Heard that. I heard that. Get into one of her anthologies, since that seems to be one of the platforms that she's commissioned to make sure that she takes care of, that she stewards these days.
Mhm.
So I'm Margo Lovett, and it's been a joy. It's always wonderful to bring these conversations to you, 25 Powerful Women to watch the month of March. This was created by WomELLE magazine, and I will see you on the next conversation. Bye-bye now.